This is a very much collaborative process with Francesco Rampazzo, who's in the crowd. He's a career development fellow at Said Business School, the Leverhulme Centre for Demographic Science, and the Field College, University of Oxford. Alice Raybould, who is a PhD candidate at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and Pietro Rampazzo, who's a master's student at the Technical University of Denmark. So he's very much good at the Python coding thing. But the first thing to address maybe is why we're interested in mobile phone apps. And on top of this, why we're interested in fertility tracking apps in particular. So we kind of take the argument that, we take from the literature, quite a supportive statement that the digital revolution is having an effect on our lives. But we assume that we give so much data to mobile phone apps or the internet, but there's also a lot of data that we can get back. But we kind of see the pathway to parenthood or relationships often through apps or through the internet. So maybe people get into a relationship by meeting someone on Tinder and then tracking their menstrual health on an app, on a fertility app. And then when it's time to conceive, or if someone wants to conceive, then trying to find the best time to conceive through one of these apps where you input your own fertility data. But all of this data in demography from these apps hasn't yet been used in demography. And it's a very big opportunity to better understand why people, well, lots of different reasons, why people have children, why people find the need to use these apps. Digital trace data has been used really nicely by some demographers looking at migration, and Facebook, for instance, like Francesco Bellari has done nice work on fertility in Germany being linked to Wi-Fi and being able to merge family life and work life a bit better. And also in Malawi, there's been work on mobile phone access, increasing the ability for people to know more about fertility and to have more autonomy over their decisions. So after kind of talking about how great these are, I thought it was best to actually explain how they work. So on the left, there's the sign up screen for one of the main leading apps, Flow. And when you sign up, you select either to track my cycle, manage my well-being and contraception, get pregnant by leveraging my fertility days or fertile days, and follow my pregnancy to take care of myself and my future baby. But these descriptions in the apps and on the description of the apps on the App Store and Google Play Store, they don't really tell us the proportion of reasons that people use these apps, and they don't tell us how many people use these apps worldwide and the number of installations worldwide. So that's the main purpose of this research, to understand these three things. So the first two aims, the first addresses which are the most used fertility apps. And the second looks at the global distribution of these apps. And the third, which we'll speak about a bit later, looks at the reasons why people use these apps. And from a little like Google search data, we see that the interest in these apps, these are two of the leading apps, it has been growing, especially since like 2017, 18. And from looking at some Google search data, we see the searches are quite concentrated in the global north. But there are a few countries in Africa that have some results for searches for the Flow app and Clue app, like Nigeria, Ghana, and South Africa. But although this data is like nice, it can't show us anything truly substantial about the prevalence of the apps, just that the trend is growing. So in order to address these issues, well, to try and know the number of installations and where the installations are, there are 3 steps to collecting the data. First, we create a list of apps, both on the Apple Store and Google Play Store, that are clearly fertility apps. For example, Period Tracker is clearly an app that's related to fertility. And then we look at the words in those descriptions, for example, like, or the group of words like get pregnant or conceive. And then we search for all similar apps that are available on both markets. And then we have a really, really long list of all of these relevant apps that have these descriptions. So we download all the information available from the two markets, the reviews, the number of installations, the country, the language, and then we clean the data set to remove the apps we're not interested in, and we select a sample of the top 28 apps based on the calculations we do. So the geography available is quite nice and broad. Clearly, the global north has both markets. In purple, that's kind of our sample of countries we're looking at. And really, the coverage isn't as bad as one might think. West Africa has quite good coverage of having both the App Store and the Play Store, and Southeast Africa has both stores. There are some areas without, quite a few countries in Sub-Saharan Africa, Iran, Syria, Cuba, which don't have either of the stores. But we do have 133 countries available where we can understand the proportions. So from this data scraping, we have mismatches in the data for the Play Store and the App Store. Nicely, we have the reviews and ratings for both the Play Store and the App Store. So the review, the text, I like this, I don't, and the rating from 0 to 5. But we don't have the number of installations from the App Store. We only have the number of installations from the Play Store. It's just not available to download. And also, we don't have the country from the Play Store, and we don't have but we do have the country from the App Store. So we have this mismatch, but we have two sources of data that are the same. So the aim is to leverage to try to estimate the number of App Store installations through a log model using the Play Store data. So basically basing the Play Store results, basing the App Store installations on the Play Store data, and then distribute the Play Store data by country, because we're missing the country, using the App Store data. So in order for us to build these models and to find the global distribution of the apps, there's quite a big assumption, well, not a big assumption actually, quite a fair assumption that the proportionality across reviews and ratings, there is proportionality across reviews and ratings. So this is supported by looking at the proportionality between ratings and reviews. We see that they're very much proportional. So we can use these reviews and ratings as the kind of basis to build these models and to infer where the installations are and which countries they are. Here in blue, we have the App Store, and in orange yellow, we have the Google Play Store. But important is this proportional relationship. So from this proportionality, we can then predict the number of installations in the App Store. This is the predicted number in blue, about 90 million for the App Store for this top app floor. And then for Clue, it's about 65 million that we know the number for that are downloaded from the Play Store. So by combining these two, we should know the total number of installations for each of these apps, which is like the first step, that is the first tick, and that we now know. And then we can use this number of installations and the Apple Store data to then predict the installations by country, because we still have this assumption that there's proportionality between ratings and reviews. So now we know the global distribution, which is largely in the global north. The country that tops the number of installations is the US, and then Russia, and then Brazil, and Western Europe's quite well represented. But it's important to note that there are installations in the global south as well, and it's not just people in Western Europe and North America that are using these apps. So we now know where they take place, that installations are greater in the global north, although they're present in the global south. And we know which apps are the most installed. Now there's Floor, Clue, and Period Tracker Lite. So now we can kind of move on to the third aim, which is to explore some of the reasons why individuals choose to download and use particular apps. And the strategy for this is kind of twofold. First, we need to clean the text data that we downloaded earlier of the reviews. So we downloaded we did download like 91,000 reviews of these top 28 apps. And now we have a long data frame of the 28 apps, of the reviews of these apps. And we need to clean them to remove stop words like the or and also remove punctuation, create n-grams, which allow two words to be the same. So get pregnant will become essentially one word. So there just needs to be some cleaning and filtering, and we end up with about 90,000 reviews. And after the data is cleaned, we then perform some diagnostics and select the model. But the assumption for this part of the analytical strategy is that there's lots and lots of unknowns. So we kind of throw everything into a model with little human input, and then we kind of see what we get back. So we use an unsupervised machine learning model, which is generative. So this model we don't really give the model much. We just give the model the corpus, which is we give the model the tokens, the words in each document in a bag of words. So each document has maybe 20 tokens, which are all unordered. And we give this to the model with the 90,000 documents, reviews, and then the model will tell us, okay, this is a topic just based purely on word proportionality and word prevalence in each of the reviews. And the only real human input we have is K, which is the number of topics. And the input we're mainly interested in is the beta, which shows the proportional chance that a word will be a part of a certain topic. So just to look at the kind of data that we're initially using, this is the kind of data we're putting in: app, date, rating, and text. And because of the model we're using, we can also include the app name, the date, and the rate as kind of metadata that we can look into later. So we can see the trend over time or the trend between apps. So we have quite a few different reasons for using the apps. So look, this is a nice example. This app builds a great picture of my cycle. It helps me when I should be due on with pinpoint accuracy after a few months. I even fell pregnant and had a baby boy in September 2016, thanks to my accurate fertile window. So all of these become a bag of words and tokens. So this will be removed. App is removed as well. Great picture remains, cycle remains, and then based on the remaining words, they're then put into a topic. But the human input we have is we have to choose the number of topics or themes that a text has. And this is based primarily on kind of human choice, because normally there's quite a lot of statistical tests for deciding model parameters. But in this case, there's two, but we still have to use our intuition to decide which model to build. So there's semantic coherence, which is how often pair of words appear in the same topic. So semantic coherence is like how, what is it actually? It's how, if two words appear often in the same document, they should be in the same topic. So get pregnant and conceive, if they're often in the same document, they should also be in the same topic. So how coherent the topic is. But then exclusivity is how precise the topics are. So how to the grain, how precise they are. And we want a balance of these two. We want a balance of exclusivity and semantic coherence. So ideally we would have a topic number that would be around here. So we want to see which kind of stand out and which have the balance between precision and semantic coherence. So I've kind of selected two to look at. There's a topic model with 36 topics, which is at the average for exclusivity. but it's not, but it's not as coherent. And then there's another 124 topics, which should really capture the broader themes without too much precision. So first we can look at the broad themes and then go into a bit more detail. And Frex is how we decide the topic names based primarily on exclusivity, which words appear in this topic but are not in others, and then that can give the topic a name, because we want to kind of limit our input into the model. So from a look at a model with 24 topics, these are the top 8. And the size is the frequency that this word shows up. And you see that the most popular topic assigned to the reviews is like period, track, health, symptom, keep track. And then there are some topics which aren't too useful to us, like some that are just praising the app, saying this is great, or this is one of the best I've used. And this one we're quite interested in, topic 21, which is about getting pregnant, cycle, recommend, got pregnant, baby, trimester, month, conceive, first. This one, topic 4, is about learning and education. So it really helped me understand my body. I feel better, I can recommend, it's informative. And then some that we're not too interested in, like this one again, which is please update, it's broken, please fix it. And where we can show these topic word clouds in a bit of a different way as well, by kind of showing the size, the importance of the topic is by the size of the circle, and then whether the words are similar to other topics or the connections here. And they're just put into groups quite simply. So we can see graphically what topics people are talking about and which are connected. We're mainly interested in these two down here. This one shows, this one in blue is window, fertile, test positive, conceive, get pregnant. And then this one here would be predict next, period, menstrual, irregular. And then some of them aren't too relevant. This one mostly talking about problems, and this one about ads. And this is quite relevant, symptom and mood, chatted community, learn and understand. But with a few more topics, with 46 topics, no, 36, sorry, we can get a bit of a more detailed look at these. But it's a bit hard to see because everything's a bit small. So I'm just going to move on to the next slide and focus on this and this. So we're kind of calling these the menstruation or health topic. It's about predicting the next, menstrual irregular, period, paper. And this would be the conception, broader topic. But now we have a topic that's just about pregnancy and avoiding, testing positive. So we get a bit more detail by having more topics. But one of our aims was to try and understand what people are talking about. So we have lots of these different reasons, but lots of them not too relevant, like this here, add, annoy, fix, open. But these are the two that we're really interested in. So we can group these into the proportion of reviews that speak about conception and the proportion of reviews that speak about menstruation. And these are all the apps, the 28 apps included in our data set. And a few of them, like Pre-Mom Ovulation Tracker and Ovulation Calculator, have about 25% of topics relating to conception. And then, but the majority have topics related to both, like Flow, which is our leading app, has about 10% of reviews mentioning topic menstruation, and about 10% as well with conception. But Ovia, one of the leading apps as well, is very much more related to conception. So through all this, we see that there are different apps for different reasons. The most popular app is a bit half and half, but there are more specialized apps as well. Yeah, so So far in the research, we found that the installation of these apps is largely in the global north and Latin America. We have to remember, though, that the installations don't necessarily mean users. For example, someone could install the app, delete the app, install the app. So we might be overestimating the number of apps, app installations, or app users. But we do know that it's mainly in the global north. And from Google Trends data, we can suggest there's a momentum and it's growing. But generally, there's a lot of data that we can get at from all of this. And the topic modeling has shown there's some key topics, the main two being conceiving and also keeping track of periods. But there's also large topics about education and reminders and a bit about community. So our next steps are to better understand the reasons why people use these apps, mainly based on the conception topics. So taking a subsection of these broad topics and looking at conception, and also by looking at the global spread, because we only used English language reviews for the topic modeling. But Pietro has kind of downloaded the German reviews, so they could be a next step as well. There's quite a lot of them. And yeah, that's all from me and the rest of us. But thank you very much for listening. If you have any comments or topics, let me know.